when you believe you are perceiving someone's intent? Is that projection of yourself or past situations? This is an interesting question that could very easily take us into, an exploration of human consciousness. What you are doing as a human being is you're taking on board fresh data and comparing it to a map of the world that you already have. So it's thinking, in a certain sense, could be said to be the comparison between old and new, or known and unknown, or that which is a given and that which could be considered fresh data. You can make mistakes, of course. That's where prejudiced, which means prejudgment, comes from. Prejudice is also the basis of all skill. You can't drive without prejudice and prejudgment. So probably a good place to start is to say, okay, subjectively, I only know what I know, and I don't know what I don't know. There are known knowns, unknown knowns, known unknowns, and unknown unknowns. Donald Rumsfeld made that famous, but apparently it actually comes from friends of his at NASA, which is a good way. It's good to remember when you're looking at a situation. There are known knowns, there are known unknowns, there are unknown unknowns, there are things that you don't know. And so you should always question your thinking. This is called critical thinking. It's a discipline where we question our thinking. We're engaged in the practice of critical thinking. We are critiquing our own thoughts as we think them. How do I know that this is true? Is there any evidence to the contrary? I've made a conclusion about this person's intent. Is there any way I could be getting this wrong? There are no hard and fast rules here. This is the nature of human consciousness. Typically, though, that made it sound like it was complicated, but actually I think in the real world it's fairly straightforward. People aren't that smart generally, and they're not that hard to read. They're usually pretty straightforward and open, but you do need to look at them, you do need to listen to them, and you do need to clean up your perceptual filters a little bit. And if you can do that, the person you're dealing with is probably giving you all the data that you need. You'll probably find that what's really happening is that you're getting very clear indications of that person's intent, but it's fighting with your map of reality. You're like, no, that can't be right. This person's intent looks like this, but if that's true and they're of evil intent, then that would mean I lose this precious thing that I hold dear to me, and I don't want to do that. I would rather misinterpret or struggle to interpret their intent, which is not an easy thing to sort of take on board, but that is what humans do. Adler is a good psychologist to look at for this kind of thinking, which would be, if I'm struggling to determine the intent of this person, what purpose does that behavior serve? Am I trying to protect myself from something? Am I trying to protect myself from an unpleasant reality or some dark truth?